coming to you on a Friday. That is right. It is a day just before the weekend, and I think plenty of people are excited for the weekend. One, because it hopefully will mean better weather, because it is still cold out there.
It's very chilly. I don't like it.
Stay warm out there, folks, if you are heading out and about, as we got that fake spring weather 2 weeks ago, and now it's back to being cold. And then once Wednesday hits next week, if it's cold, I'm going to be insufferable with how I am about the weather. Because once I see the words March, I expect not feels like 18 degrees.
I can respect that.
When I think March, I'm like, all right, I got through December, January, and February where it's supposed to be cold.
Yeah.
But now, no. I need better weather.
Yeah.
I need better weather.
I can respect that opinion.
Fulton, are you getting nervous?
Yeah.
You're not getting nervous?
I feel great.
You're not nervous?
Nah.
Because in 2 hours,
I'm feeling
Daniel
great.
Lynch on the bump, gonna be firing it off, and the lineup is released.
I'm so happy. I got to wake up to a Royals lineup being released.
The Royals have
Delighted.
released their lineup today. That is right. And look at this just beautiful disaster of a lineup.
I think that's disrespectful.
Bobby Witt Jr. leading off, playing short. Mr. Massey at second. Sal catching. All right, okay. Those are like the first three. I can see that. Okay. Vinny P at first base. All right, okay. Now we get into a little bit of, oh my goodness, that's gonna be that's 6 through 9.
Yeah.
Franmil Reyes at DH, Camargo at third, Isbell in center, Eaton in right, Rave in left. That ain't gonna get it done, folks.
I mean, considering this is a spring training lineup and half this lineup is spring training guys, that's how this works.
We're going to get to the Royals position players.
Yeah.
We're going to get there.
You are incredibly too pessimistic for the first spring training game of the season. When Franmil Reyes hits a ball 495 feet today, I expect you to issue him a full written apology.
I will completely eat crow if Franmil Reyes does that once every 200 at-bats. All right? That's probably what'll end up happening. I don't.
You are far too pessimistic about this. I am far too pessimistic.
Here's the thing. I have been so upbeat about the Royals, it seems like every single spring. Like last year, I was like, they're gonna get it done. They're gonna get to 80.
Yeah, I was right there with you.
I can't do it this year. I can't do it. I cannot do it.
And that's your problem.
No, that is not my problem.
No, that is your problem.
No, you're gonna. I have a problem with my opinion.
I will just say the same thing as before. Yeah, I think there is being too pessimistic with all the different things that have happened.
I
think it's more fun to be optimistic in spring.
Yes, you are correct. And normally I am like that. But it is not been that way for the last 6 years.
And that's fine.
I'm hoping to be proven wrong. Okay. I just don't have the excitement for this Royals team outside of about 4 or 5 guys. That's about it. And there are too many ifs. There are too many, this person needs to improve. There's too much invested in, this team is going to be better because of the style and the coaching change and the leadership change. I am full on the state of Missouri. Show me.
Okay.
Don't give me this, we've got so many different ways here, so many different ways there, and this is terrific, and hey, this guy did this, and this guy did this, and when you say this guy did this, and this guy did this, and we all got this, that's too many thises.
Okay.
Instead of just what Bobby Witt did last year, what Vinny P did last year, what Melendez did last year as rookies. Like, I am very excited for them. super optimistic for them. I think that can be terrific. But everybody else, essentially outside of Brady Singer, I'm not going to be this hopeful optimism. I know I always say hope is the best of things. You know, maybe it's the best of things, right? You know, the line from Andy Dufresne in the Shawshank Redemption, you know, hope is a good thing. Maybe it is the best of things. I'm hoping this letter finds you well. I am hoping you're ready to take another trip, you know, when he goes down to say Wataneo and everything like that. I am normally like that.
The Royals have finally beaten that out of you.
They haven't beaten it out of me. I'm just sick and tired of this every single year. And so I'm not going to do that this year.
Okay. I will be hopeful for the both of us.
You can.
I'll shoulder the weight.
Show me that you're going to do this. Okay. And then I will be it's and part of me is a little bit frustrated because they waited 1 year too long to do this.
No, I will agree with that.
Last year's when Quattraro and Sweeney and everybody should have been brought in, and they just wasted a year last year. So, but we'll get to more of that with the Royals. We're going to talk with Craig Brown on all things Royals and see if he's, you know, super, you know, optimistic opal like you or more a realist Rick like me. I don't consider myself pessimistic, Pete. I don't, because I can see the ceiling, but I'm not there. I'm just not. I'm not going to be like, I don't think they're going to lose 100. I think
that's a step forward.
I don't think they will. I will say this. Remember last year you were like 100% they're going to lose the record amount of games, and then they didn't.
Listen, I know where I was.
All right, you were in a dark place.
I know where I can get to with this team. I'm understanding.
Real dark.
I was. It was bad.
So we got plenty to get to. We'll talk a little Big 12 hoops. Lots to talk about. Hit us up on our Big O Tires text line 785-272-9429 outside of Topeka 785-272-9429. Let us know your thoughts. You can check us out on YouTube. Go to Sports on 580. Very simple, very easy. Check us out on our website 580wibw.com. Earlier today, The Athletic dropped some knowledge about our good friend Russell Wilson.
Well, it did.
Well, it turns out that Russell Wilson went to the ownership of the Seahawks when he was there and said, you need to fire Pete Carroll and John Schneider. They are hindering me from getting back to Super Bowls and winning awards. And that actually happened.
That is what has been reported. Unsurprisingly, Russell has said that didn't happen, so we're getting a nice little case of he said, she said, but wouldn't be surprised if it happened.
No, I would not be surprised.
Given the ego that is seeming to be learned more and more about with Russell Wilson, would not be surprised if he pulled a my way or the highway.
The one thing that has always stood out to me about this, and Dan, who is a Seahawks fan, that's the great part about this, is the two quarterbacks in the league right now who are the most just into themselves are Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson.
And boy, do we have inside looks at those
just
two.
So happens to have we have fans of both Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. But when I look at Russell Wilson, Richard Sherman said this. Richard Sherman said, if I want to get a hold of Russ, I have to go through his agent and manager. I don't have a cell phone. That is mind-blowing to me, that a teammate of that stature does not interact with his teammates. And the fact that he had his own office and his own quarterbacks coach got into the building.
Yeah, it's the
KU legend, Jake Heaps.
Don't get me started on Jake Heaps. So, the Athletic basically confirming things that we've all very much knew even more, that like he had an office, not even just in the building, on the floor that coaches and executives get. Yeah. Like on the floor players never go to.
That's weird. So the reason I bring this up is Russell Wilson early on kind of was the Patrick Mahomes. I mean, went to 2 Super Bowls, won a Super Bowl. I mean, he
took the league by storm.
Yeah.
Creative outside of the pocket with some highlight plays, like super early successful. People loved Russ because it was very entertaining to watch Russ.
Now, he didn't do it at that same level. He's never received an MVP vote, that type of thing. But he's been to Pro Bowls, and he was the one who led the team, right?
Yeah.
And then, you've got, Aaron Rodgers, who 4-time MVP, 1-time Super Bowl champ. And then you've got Mahomes.
Yeah.
Could there be a bigger gap between personalities, individual, how they carry themselves, than Patrick Mahomes to what Russell Wilson is talking about and what Aaron Rodgers have gone through? Now, I understand that Aaron Rodgers is 11 years older than Patrick Mahomes, and Russell Wilson is about 8 years older than Patrick Mahomes. I understand that. It's they're a little bit more of a veteran quarterback. But Russell Wilson Mahomes been in the league now. This is his 6th year in the league, 5 years of starting. And it just blows me away at just how much different Mahomes seems to be to his teammates, to his franchise, to his coaching staff, to his GM, as compared to Russell Wilson, to Pete Carroll, John Schneider, and the entire Denver Broncos coaching staff by bringing his own coach in there.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers, who Aaron Rodgers claims he wants to win. He wants to win. Well, then why don't you help out your entire rookie wide receiving core in the summertime? I hope you realize that there's a reason why that Mahomes took all those youngsters down to Dallas and did it on his own. He knew that this is going to take some time. Whereas Aaron Rodgers doesn't show up to OTAs, which is fine. You don't have to. Those are all voluntary. I totally get that. Yeah. But if you are going to come at me with I want to win, I want to get back to a Super Bowl, I want to do this, well, you're not doing what needs to be done, because it was very evident early on that the Packers and the quarterback and wideouts and everyone were not on the same page. And unity matters, and chemistry matters. Chemistry does matter. And I learned that in 2014 and 2015 with the Kansas City Royals. You can't tell me chemistry does not matter.
It's important.
It matters. Now, is it the end-all, be-all?
No. But is it an important factor? Of course. And the big part of this discussion is Mahomes is younger than those two. And Mahomes is still relatively fresh to the league compared to those two. But the overall thought is, think about Patrick Mahomes' place in the NFL hierarchy. Like, he has ascended to full face of the league status.
Yeah.
Like, he has ascended to that being considered greatest quarterback in the league status. He's a 2-time MVP already. He's led the league in passing yards now twice. He led the league in passing touchdowns this year. Like, the big part of this is, when Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers entered the league, before they reached that status, we didn't think of them as these guys. But when they reached that status of, all right, top tier, elite quarterbacks, Rodgers at his, real peak, best quarterback in the league, just 2 years ago, 2-time back-to-back MVP, when they were in that stratosphere, that's when more of the interesting parts of their leadership or the way they acted came out more. And it's just with Mahomes, it's never changed. And it's, I'm not saying that forever will Mahomes be this guy. People can change as they age, but at the same time, this just seems to be the kind of guy Patrick Mahomes is, and I want Chiefs fans to be refreshed in that and realize how rare it is to have the most successful player in the league and a guy who has had arguably the greatest amount of success to begin a career ever. Like, there's some other guys, we can have other conversations about who truly has had the greatest start. The fact of the matter is, in 5 years of being a starting quarterback, Patrick Mahomes has 2 MVPs and 2 Super Bowls. He's hosted an AFC championship game every year he's been a starter. He's never known a road playoff game. Like, he's never lost a road division game. He's lost 3 division games his 5 years. If anybody's earned the right to get a bit of an ego, It's Patrick Mahomes, and yet it hasn't manifested.
You want to know what I think the biggest non-Patrick Mahomes intangible is? Because it starts one with the person, because he does seem like
a good person.
The good person.
Just a good kid.
Yeah. I think a lot of this it's Andy Reid.
Yeah,
and the reason why I say Andy Reid is Andy Reid will go down as a top 3 offensive mind in NFL history. Yeah. And I don't know what number it is, 1 through 3, but he will. Bill Walsh, I think, is also in that mix because of what he did for the game.
Yeah.
And it might be just those two, and I don't go far enough back, maybe John Madden or even Lombardi or something.
Really, innovation of the game, blah, blah. Yes.
But when you've got that guy who is in charge and who is arguably a top 5 coach of all time behind Belichick, Shula, Landry, and Knoll, and then there's Andy Reid. Like those are the 5 I think that you're in a discussion with. I think Andy Reid helps keep Patrick Mahomes like, hey bud, look who you're talking to. Pete Carroll ain't Andy Reid.
No,
that's why I think that is a bigger a variable in this that is not related to Patrick Mahomes. But that's wild to me that you've got a guy like Russell Wilson trying to pull that kind of stuff.
It is, and more importantly, the way I reading through it today, there was an anonymous coach basically said, are you trying to be a player? Or are you trying to be a coach? With the whole office thing and the way he acted and stuff like that, because Russ apparently had an open door policy, but the anonymous coach was like, your open doors, you sit in front of your locker. Like, that's an open door policy with your teammates. It's a disconnect that seems like I am above the rest of my team, whereas Mahomes, for all his success, has never seemed to come off as I am above the rest of my team. And I think Andy Reid's a chunk to that, and I think Alex Smith is a chunk to that. And that first year, Alex sat there and taught him, because Alex knew also just, here's what it's like to be the greatest thing since sliced spread, walking to the league, being a top pick, and how quickly it can all change.
Yeah.
So just take what it is, man.
That's incredible.
It's a great dichotomy. We talk about the craziness with Russ and Rodgers and stuff like that. Mahomes has earned every right to be just as eccentric and crazy and egotistical. And all he does is just sit there, head down, do the work, and deflects everything to everybody else.
We got a lot to get to. Coming up next, Pac-12 might have a new TV deal. We'll get to that coming up next. according to Brett McMurphy, doesn't have a formal deal from Apple, but Ion Television has emerged as a potential Pac-12 partner. Ion TV is owned by EW Scripps Company, which has 61 local TV stations nationwide and launched Scripps Sports this year. I have never even heard of Scripps Sports.
It's apparently a thing. Brendan has.
Well,
I know. That doesn't mean much.
That doesn't matter.
Brendan knows a bunch of obscure sports things.
Yes.
Which is Aussie rules football.
So I look at this and I go, if your choices are Apple, Stream, and Ion, hey, at least you're on, 61 local television stations. 61. That's it. 61. That's better than nothing. Better than just Apple. But if you're talking about, oh yeah, we're in discussion with Scripps Sports, that ain't it, man. We're talking, you're not on ESPN, you're not on Fox, you're not on broadcast. That is a problem. You're not on ESPN Plus. That is a problem. Ion. Better if you get at least that than just Apple.
No, it gives them a linear option, but...
Oh my gosh, that is not good. Not good if you're the Pac-12.
Something is better than nothing, but that something is not that great.
Find out where Scripps Sports is. Like,
I'll talk to Brendan and see if we can get a better idea on what's going on at Scripps Sports.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
We got a lot more to get to. We are going to talk all things Royals with Craig Brown of Into the Fountains. Get his thoughts on all things Royals coming up as we move on here on Mic'd Up. Is the first spring training game for the Kansas City Royals. We might take a peek in there and listen.
For those of you out there, the Royals are minus 106 on the money line against the Rangers today.
So they're favorites.
The Rangers are minus 112.
Not good value. Not good value.
I am not going to disclose whether or not I psychopathically put American currency on a spring training game.
You know what? I will too. You know what? It's the first game of the year. Here's my optimism for you, Fulton.
There it is. I will also say, because of what I have now done or did not do, I am no longer allowed to take shots at any member of the 580 sports team for crazy things they bet on.
We are going to talk all things baseball right now with the man who's been covering the Royals almost since Fulton was born. We welcome in Craig Brown. Fantastic site. Just Google Into the Fountains Royals Baseball. It'll pop up. It's so simple, so easy. IntoTheFountains.substack.com. Craig Brown joining us. And Craig, I got to ask you this. For the first time in a long time, I'm not Hope Springs eternal for this Royals team. I'm just not. Give me a couple reasons why I need to be talked into optimism, because I just can't do it this year.
Oh, well, thanks for having me on. And also, if you're betting on spring training games, man, that is something else. I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't either until he just said that.
I just found out today, and I can't lie, it's not a great thing.
Proceed with caution. That would be my advice there. But as far as optimism goes, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to tell you that they are going to compete in the Central. I'm not going to tell you that they're going to compete for the wild card, even though they've expanded the playoffs. I will tell you, though, that I feel like the organization is headed in the right direction. And that's based on all the movement that we saw off the field this winter, with JJ Piccolo taking over as the true general manager, with Matt Cutraro, Paul Hoover, Brian Sweeney, all these new coaches, that are really, really working to revamp the pitching. And of course, as we've seen, early days, of course, pitchers and catchers always report ahead of the position players. So you get a lot of the news that comes out of the camp is about the pitchers and, how they're working to improve. And, honest to God, there's a ton of improvement needed. I mean, we all saw last year. So we don't know, what that improvement is going to be, but where my optimism comes in is that they're finally trying to do anything to get better. And the good news is the way that they're trying to get better is by having these guys like Brian Sweeney, the pitching coach coming from Atlanta, Zach Bove, the assistant pitching coach coming from Minnesota, along with Hoover and Cutraro from the Rays organization. These are all teams that have really done well and done right in developing pitching. These guys know what they're doing. They've had success at the major league level. And so, with this group in place, I think that, it's a positive first step. And now it's up to the players to actually, make those adjustments and make those improvements. So we'll see how that goes. But right now, before a pitch has been thrown, I feel a lot better about this Royals organization than I did this time last year. Probably as good as I felt in, since like 2016. So it's a good day.
It's more about, hey, you know what? The process is going to be the right way instead of the players. And if the players can't get it done, then it's not the process. It's going to be those individuals. Is that what you're kind of getting to?
Yeah, it feels that way. We could use it like Brad Keller as an example. Ann Rogers from MLB.com, who's down there covering the team, had a story about Keller, and I sent out a tweet or a retweet. He went to Driveline this offseason, and he went with the blessing of the new pitching coaches, and they actually gave him some tips on, hey, why don't you try this while you're at Driveline? And he's using the high-speed cameras there, all the technology that they have at this pitching lab. And he was working on a curveball, and he's working on a adding sweep to his slider. We're going to hear a lot more about this pitch called a sweeper, which is kind of like a slider, I think, with a lot more movement, ladder or horizontal movement. And so, he went out there, and now I'm skeptical, how that will turn out for him. We've seen a lot of Keller in the past, but it doesn't hurt for him to add a new pitch, especially a curveball, because you think about Keller, he's a guy that throws low 90s with the fastball. He has the slider that comes in, in the mid 80s, and then he also has a changeup. None of those pitches have a lot of velocity separation between them. They're all kind of coming in at the same rate, different breaks, and that's going to help him against the hitter. But now adding a curveball that's going to come in at like 82 miles an hour, that's just another wrinkle. That's that fourth pitch that could become really valuable for him. So, again, I'm kind of skeptical to see how that turns out, how much he uses it, because we always hear these stories at spring training. So-and-so has added a new pitch, and hey, let's see how it goes. And then it turns out in that game environment, he's not as comfortable as you would have thought, and abandons the pitch or hardly throws it, or it's just not effective. So we'll see how it works. But the key thing is that he went outside the organization for help. The organization was happy for him to go outside to find that help, and now they're using the information that they got from that to even help refine his craft and his tools even more. So it's such these pitching coaches have such an open mind, and they're willing to try a variety of things to see what clicks. So yeah, I'm really excited for this group to really get in, and I'm excited to see the results, even in Arizona, even in spring training. I'm really looking forward to seeing how these guys get on the field and translate what they've been working on, over the winter and early on in camp.
I mean, they can only go up because they were last in every single category. So that is a positive. I will say that. When it comes to this staff and really this team, I feel comfortable 1 through 4 in the lineup, and I feel comfortable saying 1 through 2 in the pitching staff, because I think it will be Singer and Greinke, and then what do we got after that? Who are the guys that you think, I don't want to say X factors, but who are the guys that could be the biggest difference makers? Is it Keller? Is it Lynch? Is it Bubich? Is it Coar? Is it Lyles? Is it Yarbrough? Is it, and I can keep on going and going and going, because they got like 13 starting pitchers outside of Singer and Greinke. It's a big giant question mark on all of those. So what guys do you think that they're hoping for that can turn that corner this year?
Lynch is the guy that has the stuff. He just hasn't been consistent and fills the zone far too much. So I think he's somebody that can benefit from, having a new coaching staff, kind of help mold him and make him into a better pitcher. Where he's got the repertoire. He has the ability to make these pitches. He just hasn't been executing at the big league level. So, I mean, for me, he's a guy, Jordan Lyles is a guy, of course, they signed to a 2-year contract. Doesn't really move the needle necessarily. If you're looking to build fan excitement, he's, back of the rotation guy. He fills a need for a team that needs innings and a guy that is going to take the ball consistently every 5th day. Again, just, there's not a lot to get excited about. You mentioned a guy, though, that I'm very intrigued about, and he has flown completely under the radar, it seems, is Jackson Kowar, who, as we know from watching the Royals, was doing really well in the minor leagues, got up to the big leagues and just got,
it was a disaster.
Really. Yeah. I mean, he just never, ever, ever looked good. Never looked comfortable. So, he is another guy that could use that change of scenery that you get with a new coaching staff. Because he's another one who has had the talent. I mean, the numbers in the minors, before he was promoted to the big leagues were very good. And so, can they unlock something there? That would be a huge development for this team. But overall, you were listing the names, and we're going to see just this revolving door. This team is going to use a number of pitchers this year, and they're looking for guys with options that they can shuttle back and forth to the minors. You're going to see a lot of movement in the bullpen. They are just going to, try to get guys in, to get looks at them, to see, who can succeed and who deserves to stay in. I think one of the big things that is going to also come out of this year is that now, I think that they kind of threw down the gauntlet. I think management threw it down and said, basically, now you got to earn it. And it has kind of felt like that the guys that have been brought in, that draft class of 2018, it was all kind of like, okay, well, here it's just kind of your turn. It's not that way anymore. They need to have the results. And if they don't have the results, they're not going to pitch in the majors, and they might not be in the organization for long.
We're talking with Craig Brown, has covered the Royals since 2006, and you can check out his work at Into the Fountains. Great site. Go to intothefountains.substack.com. Great insight on the Royals. And let's get to the lineup. I like 1 through 4. I think I'm very excited 1 through 4. Bobby Witt Jr., and I'm not talking about the lineup. I'm just talking about the top 4 guys. Bobby Witt Jr., MJ Melendez, Salvador Perez, and Vinny Pasquantino. I like those 4. I think that's fun. That's exciting to get you to come to the ballpark to see those 4 guys. After that, I have question marks. Who would be the next couple of guys that you go, hey, I think these next 2 guys or 3 guys can make a big time difference, and our lineup goes from a pretty good 1 through 4 to a pretty good 1 through 7. And then, of course, you've got 8 and 9. Not everybody's the Dodgers lineup, and you go 1 through 9, and you're like, wow, everybody's got an on base percentage of 350. So that's not realistic for the Royals. But who are you thinking will take the next step to join those 4?
Well, I think, I'm very intrigued by Franmil Reyes, who they signed to the minor league deal just before the open of camp. He's a guy who has, shown plenty of power in the past. Had 30 home runs a couple of years ago. Last year really, really cratered. Really difficult time to the point where Cleveland, his, the team that he had been with the longest, finally just said, enough of this, and they released him. The Cubs picked him up. The Cubs decided not to tender him a contract. So 2 teams kind of, took a look at him and decided to pass. But I think that, again, we've talked about it before. The Royals have been ahead of the curve. As far behind as they've been with the pitching, they've really been ahead of the curve with the hitting. And there's the potential there to re-unlock that power that Reyes has shown. I think that he is a guy that he's a DH only guy, and he could lengthen the lineup. And of course, the Royals have so many options, defense, and that they're going to get Perez some time at designated hitter just to get him out from behind the plate. They'll probably rotate Melendez back there. They just got a lot of options. So Reyes isn't even like, quote unquote, going to be the everyday designated hitter, but he's going to get, plenty of opportunity to do that. I'm also interested in Olivares, as a guy, with the injury early in the season to Drew Waters with the strained oblique. The Royals kind of had a logjam in the outfield. They still do, but I think that a path for Olivares to play is a little more clear. He's another guy, but to me, it gets really right-handed heavy. That's where the power is on this team with Perez, Reyes, potentially Olivares is kind of the middle of the order guys, all right-handed hitters. So, the Royals will have to figure out something to do there, but there's so many pieces and different ways that they can assemble this lineup. It's going to be really interesting to see how Quatraro approaches that, because I think he's a very cerebral type of manager who's going to go outside the box with some of his lineups, and they just have plenty of options. It's really going to be interesting and fun to see how he approaches that construction. Once we get into the regular season.
Are they really going to roll out Hunter Dozier at third base? Like, is that really going to happen? That's actually going to happen, isn't it?
I think he gets the opportunity in spring training. And if we've learned anything watching these games in Surprise over the years, it's a good hitting environment. And so, I think he might be your opening day third baseman. But, today in the lineup, they've got Johan Camargo, and I think he is a guy that has a shot of making this roster. Very good defender at third. Has hit in the majors, but has struggled the last couple of years. But again, he doesn't have the pedigree of a guy like Reyes. But again, if you put somebody like Camargo, in the hands of an Alex Zumwalt, the hitting coach, maybe they unlock something. Maybe he, kind of recaptures, what he had done earlier in his career with Atlanta. And so, the thing with Dozier that is tricky, and I know that they're under new ownership and new management and everything, so maybe they aren't as tied to Dozier as they were in the past, but they do owe him quite a bit of money over the next couple of years, and it's not like they're going to be able to trade him without eating a lot of that contract, or they could just straight up release him. But I think he gets that shot. I wish I could be a little bit more optimistic about Dozier. I'm optimistic about a lot on this team, but we've seen him for the last couple of years do what he's done. I know that he's he was dealing with injury a couple of years ago, but again, just not the best defensive option at third. There's really no place to put him on the field where you would be like, he's at least an average defender. So you want to try and hide him someplace, and I don't really think third base is the best place to stash a guy like that. So
has anybody ever in 2019, the year of the balloon ball or whatever you want to call it, the fake ball, the juiced ball, like, I swear Hunter Dozier gained more from that 1 year in 2019 because of what the ball was than any other player ever, maybe for a 1 year period of all time. Because after that, it's been just one year's not like the other, and that was 2019. Everything else has been pretty consistent, low 230s with the low teen home run power, and the Royals gave him just a ridiculous contract.
Yeah, they bought high, and they're paying for it. And you're right. I mean, he was probably right around league average in 2020, but that was the COVID season, and so I tend to really, I do. I think that we can throw that year, kind of off to the side. So then you're looking at 5 years of his career. 1 year he's been above league average with the bat. The other 4, it's not even like close to league average. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at his numbers. I'm going back to 2016 where he just had a handful of plate appearances. So let's call it 3 years below average. super small sample is his first cup of coffee that he had. So, but I mean, it's he is what he is. And although I do put a lot of faith in the hitting program that the Royals have, it's not going to work for everybody. And Dozier has kind of had that opportunity. He had 500 plate appearances last year. He had 500 plate appearances the year before, and it's he is who he is. I think at this point in his career. But the Royals are with him for another little bit. So it's just kind of how long can they deal with it? How long do they want to deal with it? And what can they do if they decide to move on?
All righty, my last two questions, two for the road. You can just give me two short answers if you'd like. Who is the Royal player who's going to have a breakout year this year?
Oh man, I think it sounds weird, but I think that Bobby Witt Jr. I mean, I think he was really good last year. Even though the on base percentage and all that might not have been there, but he's a guy that I just very, very bullish on. So I'll go with him. Potential 30-30 guy down the road.
Okay. Non-Bobby Witt Jr. Era then.
Breakout. Well, I mean, Melendez is another guy that can do some great things with the bat. I have some questions about the defense, but I mean, I think he's a guy that get him in there, and I think that I think he's going to be a very steady, above average performer. Nothing flashy, but I think he's going to be a rock solid presence in that lineup for a few years.
All righty. And what year will the Royals throw the very first pitch in their downtown stadium?
Oh yeah, I think that they're going to accelerate that process. I think we're going to see a vote on it. I think the earliest it can go on the ballot in Kansas City is in August, and I'm not going to be surprised if it's on that ballot. And then I think 3-4 years after that. So where does that put us? I got to do that.
27.
2020. Yeah, I think I'll be safe and say 28. But I'm very convinced that this is going to happen. I mean, I without a doubt in my mind that they're going to be playing downtown, and as soon as possible, which I think would be 27, 28.
Well, first pitch is in an hour and 10 minutes. Are you going to be tuned in?
Absolutely. I will not miss that for the world. It's been a long winter, my friend. Let's play ball.
Craig, thank you so much for the time. Look forward to all your great insight into the Fountains. We appreciate you coming on here, talking a little Royals baseball.
Anytime. Thanks for having me, guys.
Craig Brown, Into the Fountains. We're hour and 10 minutes away.
Yeah, we are.
We'll do a little sneak peek coming up at 2:00 on the Royals Radio Network. First game of the year. What did I see? The Royals are playing 196 games in the next 220 days or something like that.
Yep.
I think that's what I read this earlier.
Mm-hmm. You did. Because I read the same thing. It's wonderful. I'm so happy.
We're going to get to some Big 12 hoops. Everyone loves the list. Talk some free agency. Is Frank Clark coming back? He might. We'll get to that as well coming up in the 1:00 hour. Hour number 2 on the way on a Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. Check us out on Twitter at Jake Fulton, at Fultoncaster, as well as Sports on 580. Hit us up on the Big O Tires text line, 785-272-9429. Check us out on YouTube at the subscribe button if you can. Go to youtube.com, type in Sports on 580. Very simple, very easy. You can check it out, as well as our website, 580wibw.com. Speaking of our Big O Tires text line, I get Ion TV through my rabbit ears. Comes from KSNT. I never watch it, but if Pac-12 football is on there, I might.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Fascinating.
That's not as bad maybe as I thought it would be.
Look at that. You taking shots at the Pac-12 for no reason.
How many people have rabbit ears?
That's a great question.
Do you?
No.
I don't either. No. Do I get... I wonder if I get Ion.
You probably do.
I'm going to text my wife right
Let's
now.
say if your wife's at home, just see if she can find Ion.
I know what I'm going to do.
Look through our cable. See, do we get Ion television?
I'm going to say we don't.
Yeah, who knows? It's part of cable packages. If I felt it'd be easy for him, I'd ask my dad when he gets home to see if he has Ion in the cable package. But might be a little bit too much extra work for him to hunt down a specific TV channel.
Judging from your pops and his... and I mean this respectfully. I really do. I'm not taking a shot at your dad. He's not the most technologically savvy.
No, I've said that numerous times.
Yeah.
It's not taking a shot. It's being a realist. I love my father. Not technologically savvy. Hilarious. I mean, we don't even have internet.
But that's interesting. Yeah, that's weird.
It sucks. It's not fun when I go home for weekends that I don't have internet.
Wild.
It's brutal.
But the fact that you can get it with rabbit ears,
that's fascinating.
I mean, that's it's not awful. But if you do get it, but the question is, how many people have rabbit ears and how many people are going to search it? It's a lot like True TV. You know, we got to do it every single year. It's just out of sight, out of mind. That type of thing.
No, that's true. That's fair.
So I thought that's interesting.
That is.
Everyone loves to listen. Today is National Bartenders Day.
Go hug a bartender.
Or don't, because maybe they don't like that.
That's true.
Maybe
if your friends are bartenders, maybe ask them if they want to hug. Do not hug random bartenders.
There's some people who are huggers, and there are people who are definitely not huggers.
There are lines that shouldn't be crossed.
You know, my wife is a hugger.
Yes.
She's a hugger. I know a lot of people who who will do the whole, you know, type of like like the worm shake hand type of thing.
They get a swim move in there.
Yeah, they don't need that. We got some Big 12 hoops this weekend.
We do.
The Big 12 has now 9 teams potentially in the NCAA tournament. Texas Tech is now on the bubble. You want to know how I know that? Is because on a few bracketologies, they are in the next 4 out category. If you are on the next 4 out category, and technically
you're in the bubble.
Technically, they're the first of the next 4, which means they're 5th. If you are 5th, you are firmly on the bubble. The Big 12 right now has 8 teams in because they do have West Virginia in. West Virginia is one of the last 4 in, along with Oklahoma State, who's also potentially in. So when I look at this weekend, this is a terrific weekend if you are Texas Tech and you are Oklahoma State. Because Texas Tech hosts TCU. You beat TCU, you're probably now one of the last 4 in.
Yeah, you might make enough of a leap.
You'll leapfrog. And if you're Oklahoma State, you beat Kansas State. I wonder if Oklahoma State doesn't just get in.
Yeah, they're currently on the last 4 in, which, you know, they're teetering on that bubble.
And that's the reason why it's such a big game for Oklahoma State. And Oklahoma State right now is struggling. And if you're Oklahoma State and you get to 8 wins, that's probably enough to get you in.
You'd like to think so.
Regardless of what happens the rest of the way. Yeah. And what might be fun is the final game of the regular season is Oklahoma State at Texas Tech, which might be a de facto elimination game.
It could be.
Into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Barring a 2-win stretch.
Yeah, barring some kind of miraculous run in Kansas City.
And a miraculous run is 2 wins if you are one of those 2 teams, because that means you beat either someone like Texas Tech or, you know, West Virginia or Oklahoma State, and then you beat either KU or Texas.
Yeah, you beat one of those big dogs.
You're in.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a huge one. But I look at this schedule this weekend is so big for those 2 teams. West Virginia, your chances of winning on the road at Kansas are not great.
They're slim, but they're not none.
I don't see that probably happening. But that's why these 2 games for Oklahoma State and for Texas Tech are monstrous. I think Oklahoma State probably wins the game. They're in. You get to 8 wins in the Big 12. You know, you go 8 and 10 in Big 12 play. You're probably you're I don't want to say, you know, definitive, but you're staring at an 8-10 record in by far the toughest conference. You've got a lot of quad 1. You've got some wins. I think they're in if you beat Kansas State, because that would be, in fact, I think that would be their best win of the year, if I'm not mistaken. They beat Iowa State in Ames. That's a good one. That was when Iowa State was ranked 11th. They beat TCU and they were ranked 15th. So you can argue that this might be the best win for Oklahoma State. Yeah, if they win this game, they're in. I think they have punched their ticket. The question then becomes, can West Virginia find a way to stay afloat despite playing a difficult stretch of Kansas on the road at Iowa State and then home at Kansas State. West Virginia has to win probably one of those last 3. And I think they are locked in. But for Kansas State, this is simply, I think if you win this game on the road at Oklahoma State, I think this probably locks you in with 2 games to go in the regular season. No questions asked, a 4 seed if you win this game. And you can probably argue if they win this game right now and get to 10 wins, and then I think they're going to beat Oklahoma at home.
Mm-hmm.
That'll get you to 11. So as long as something drastic doesn't happen there, K-State wins this game on the road. I think that they're locked in at a 3. And I think if you win this game on the road at Oklahoma State, and maybe you can say if they win either at Oklahoma State and at West Virginia, or just one of the last 3, I think you'd probably get locked into a 3 seed after that win against Baylor. If you win one of these final 3, and I think they will, and I think they've got a great chance of going on the road and beating Oklahoma State. Here's the thing about Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State right now, it doesn't look like Avery Anderson is going to play.
Yeah.
And that is huge. I mean, absolutely huge for this Cowboy team because they can't score right now. They put up 67 against West Virginia, and they didn't have Anderson. And I want to double check something real quick. Against TCU, they put up 75 without Anderson. And that seems to be a big, big problem for this Oklahoma State team. So I think I think Kansas State, you go on the road and you win this game. I think that is, I think that locks them in at a 3 seed. I really do. And that 3 seed, probably in Des Moines at worst. You go to Denver. And I don't think Denver's an awful location to go to.
No.
Because one, Western Kansas normally leans K-State.
Yeah.
And drive to Denver. I think Denver's not an, now, if I were playing, I would not want it because I don't want to play in the altitude.
Yeah.
But
playing in the altitude sucks.
I think it's not a terrible, but I think they'll end up in Des Moines. I think right now, if you win this game on the road, and I think this will be I think this is going to be, if Anderson plays, it's the toughest game of the year, the rest of the way. I think Oklahoma State at home is better than West Virginia at home. And I think West Virginia might get beat up against KU and against Iowa State. Now, granted, they might be a desperate team come that last game of the regular season.
Things up.
But right now, if you win this one, I think Kansas State's no worse than a 3. And I think they're probably in Des Moines. And that's an incredible effort. For KU, it just simply TCB, take care of business.
Yeah. You do you.
It's home games. And the game that is the most important, at least for KU, is what happens at 1:00 in the land of Chip and Joanna Gaines. Texas at Baylor. If Baylor wins,
do us a favor, Bears.
All KU has to do is win their last 2 home games, and they will get a share of the title. Here's what I think happens. I think Baylor beats Texas. You ready?
Okay.
I think Baylor's going to beat Texas.
Okay.
And then I think KU is going to beat West Virginia and Texas Tech. No,
Texas Tech.
Yeah, Texas Tech.
They have Texas Tech on Senior Day. They ain't losing that game.
No, they're going to win it on Senior Day, and they're going to beat West Virginia. So let's see, that'll be on Monday of next. When does KU play next?
They play Saturday, then they play Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday, Senior Day.
Yes, Tuesday, Senior Day.
KU can have Senior Day, which last time they lost a Senior Day game was, I think,
it was quite literally, I think, the Reagan administration.
Oh, I thought it was like Lincoln.
No, it was been 31 straight. So quite literally, I think it's the Reagan administration.
I think KU, I'm going to say Baylor wins. KU wins Saturday. KU wins on Tuesday on Senior Day. No. They get to cut down the nets because they're going to win a share of the title. And then Texas beats them Saturday because KU has nothing to play for. I think Texas has a chance to play. And Bill Self we'll do the awesome cliche of we want to be selfish. We don't want to share it. We want to have it all of ours. We don't want that. And that's not going to matter. I think Texas will end up winning because the drive won't be there because they know they're going to wrap up the league. Yeah. They'll get the crown. They'll share it with Texas. They'll end up being, I think, the 1 seed. I don't know. How does that work out?
How you mean?
If KU and Texas share the Big 12, who?
That's a great question, Jake, that I don't know the answer to.
Do they do it like the MIAA and they go the reverse? So let's see. KU split with Texas.
Yep.
Both teams split with K-State.
Yep.
Did Baylor?
I think Texas won round 1 with Baylor.
I'm
not confident. I'm not confident in that. I think Texas won, but
Baylor. No.
Baylor won round 1.
That would be your tiebreaker. KU would get the 1 seed because they beat Baylor.
Texas did beat Baylor. I'm staring at it. January 30th, Texas beat Baylor.
Oh, I was looking at, never mind, yeah.
So they would have both split with Baylor in this scenario.
So they're both split with Baylor.
Then it goes to Iowa State. And I think Texas swept Iowa State. Or no, Iowa State beat Texas and Hilton. So they split Iowa State. TCU, did Texas lose to TCU?
No, they beat TCU. They beat TCU once.
Okay.
So
and it would come down to, does Texas lose at TCU?
Yeah.
Because if they sweep TCU, and by all of these metrics, then Texas would be the one in Kansas City.
Yeah.
By this understanding of the tiebreaker, which we think is what happens.
Yeah. How about that?
I will say this on K-State here as we get closer to a break here. I think they might already be locked in as a 3.
I don't think you can lose 3 in a row and still get a 3.
I think they're very close. Like, I'm close because...
What does the matrix have them right now?
Bracketology alone has them as a 2.
Okay.
Bracket Matrix. Let me go to our friends at Bracket Matrix real quick.
For those of you who don't know, Bracket Matrix is the one that compiles all of the bracketologies.
It's the best thing
together.
out there if you're into this stuff. Gives you their best average seating. K-State, per Bracket Matrix, is currently the best 3. And with an average seed of 2.94.
Yeah, that's why I think if they win this one, then they will be locked in at 3. You can't lose because you can lose the rest of the way.
That's fair.
I'm saying you can win the game against Oklahoma State, lose to Oklahoma and West Virginia,
and then lose your first game in the Big 12 tournament. I think you're still a 3.
You're still a 3.
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah, right now K-State is, per Bracket Matrix, the best 3 on the board, and it's actually not really close.
Yeah.
Now there's a bigger surprising gap than I thought between Baylor and K-State for the worst 2, but still. There is a good chance more than anything, no matter who that third Big 12 team is, that 3 Big 12 teams will be in the top in the 1 and 2 lines, which is insane.
Yeah,
and depending on how many more wins KU puts together and what the committee thinks, KU might get the number 1 overall seed.
Oh, I think KU controls their own destiny.
Oh, they do
easily. KU
when they start ratcheting up even more wins in this conference,
and they will, because I think they're going to win.
They're winning at least 2 more.
Yeah, so that's why I think they're going to end up the number 1 overall, which
I wouldn't be surprised.
Is incredible.
It'd be amazing.
Coming up next, everyone loves the list, is National Bartenders Day. Worst drinks that we have made as bartenders. Coming up next. Everyone loves the list. It is National Bartenders Day today. So tip your bartenders well. And don't ever snap your fingers at a bartender.
Do you do that? We have problems.
So what we are going to do is we are going to list our worst drinks that we get asked to make. I was a bartender in my previous life. So was Fulton.
Yep.
Alrighty. So
we've been there.
What do you got for number 4?
I'm going to throw out a caveat to my entire list here. Very few of mine are based on difficulty or even personal opinion. A lot of these are on this list because I got asked to make too many of them and I got sick and tired of having to do it. I liked things I didn't get to make that often. So number 4 for me is a drink that I personally do love, and it is an old-fashioned. I love an old-fashioned. They're not that hard to make. They truly aren't. The amount I have made in my life makes me would never want people to order them for me ever again.
See, when I was a bartender back in the about 07, 8, 9, 08, yeah, around there, 6, 7, 8, around there. I didn't make a lot of those. They weren't in.
See, they started becoming in when I started bartending, and so it's just I had to make so many. That's why I just had to make too many.
Number 4 for me, when someone came up and be like, "Oh, I don't know, surprise me."
Screw you.
Forget you. So you know what I always would do? Here's a beer. I just tap beer. There's your surprise.
Yeah,
that's my
never
number
always
4.
surprised me.
I just hated that.
Number 3 for me, same vein of also just I liked creativity. So when you gave me something that's very basic, I just kind of rolled my eyes, even if you like it. Manhattans, they're better than other ones, but just there's no creativity to it.
Number 3 for me, the Long Island iced tea.
I despise Long Islands.
They take forever to make
20 years
because there's so many ingredients.
Yeah,
like 8 different alcohols.
Truly, I hated having to do this. Number 2 for me, it is a martini. They're fine. Again, they're not difficult, but I like to be challenged. There's no challenge or creativity in that.
No, I don't like being challenged. What?
That was the kind of place we ran.
No, 0.
So
number 2 for me, because you had to deal with mint, the mojito.
See, I liked mojitos because of the mint.
No.
Like it's a difficult component sometimes to work with, but I don't like the taste of mint, but the smell of mint didn't bother me, especially fresh mint.
Awful.
See, I liked mojitos. I liked having to make those.
Too much time to make those. No.
Yeah, that would be fair. I can get with you on the time thing.
Hate those.
Number 1 for me is easy. It's a Long Island iced tea. I don't like making a drink where I got to pull out like 80,000 liquors to all throw into it. There's too many bottles I'm grabbing. It's far too much.
The number 1, and it's not even close. It is called the Miami Vice. It is half frozen margarita, half daiquiri. And the reason why it sucks, there are times where I'll be like, blender's broken. And the reason why is because we only had one blender. And so when you only have one blender, the Miami Vices, you pour them at the same one. It's the pink and it's a pina colada margarita, or depending upon, we did margaritas. Yeah. Some people can do pina coladas. We do half and half. And people love it because it looks cool. Well, it's a pain in the butt to make because you make the daiquiri. Then you got to clean out the blender unless you've got a second blender. If you got 2 blenders, you do it at the same time. It's so much easier. You just pour it. But the Miami Vice, I've told people, it's broken. Sorry. Coming up next, we're going to talk Frank Clark, and could he be back? We'll get to that next. It's a good news, bad situation right now for me.
Okay.
Good news. We get the Ion channel.
Nice. You can watch Pac-12 football.
I might be able to watch Pac-12 football. The bad news, according to Sir Mandel of The Athletic, Ion is not in the running for the Pac-12. But good news is I do have the Ion channel.
You have to tell me what the programming on that channel is sometime.
I will probably forget about the day that Ion was linked with the Pac-12 at about 5 o'clock this evening.
That's fair.
But I'll try to set a reminder to put on my phone, and I will let everybody know what is on the Ion.
What's on that network?
On that network.
It's same thing. This just goes out for everyone out there on the Big O Tires text line or YouTube cons, whatever. Just what is on the Ion network? What programming do you get if you have that channel?
I don't know.
I'm very curious. I suppose a lot of reruns. But what type of shows are they rerunning? Very curious.
I'll report back if I remember.
That's okay. If you don't, that's fine.
Let us know, Big O Tires text line. From the Big O Tires text line, Criminal Minds.
Oh, okay. So it's one of those channels.
People love Criminal Minds.
Yeah, they do.
Like, I don't know if people love the Criminal Minds Law and Order series.
People love procedural law enforcement dramas.
I have never I don't think I've watched a complete episode of Criminal Minds or Law and Order.
Or any subsidiaries of the Law and Orders?
Like, what do you mean? Like
any versions?
Like Law and Order SVU?
Yeah,
no,
SVU, Criminal Intent. Okay.
None of them. Never seen any of those. None of them.
My mother and and one of my sisters was a very big fan of SVU as we grew up. So, like, that was on a lot, and I've seen a bunch of those episodes by osmosis. I've never sought them out.
What is... Okay, SVU is Special Victims Unit.
Yes.
What does that even mean?
It is sex crimes.
Okay. That's a special victim.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know what that... I don't know.
That's what it is.
I'm not a big, like... I'm not a big type of guy like that. From the Big O Tires text line, SVU is where it's at. Stabler rocking that show.
Yeah. Elliot Stabler, fantastic.
I don't know.
Christopher Maloney's character.
Apparently somebody from Law and Order passed away.
Yeah, Richard Belzer, who played Munch.
Yeah.
Very, very tragic.
I've never seen
sad.
a single...
He was great. He was very funny.
You know, if you want to make fun of me, I have never seen a full episode of The Office.
I won't make fun of you. The Office is overrated.
What about that?
Which I know just because I just said that out loud, people are about to hate me on our text lines.
I've never watched a full episode of The Office.
Nope.
Same thing.
I have watched this full episode, so I know what it's about, and I do not like it.
Haven't watched a single episode of it. Someone does not like the fact that you do not like
knew that.
The Office.
We can't repeat that, but yes, I understand.
That's okay.
That's okay. That's fine.
That's all right.
That's okay. We're all allowed to have opinions here.
Yeah. Tough. From the
it's okay.
I've never seen the show, so I don't have a singular opinion. I might love it. I might think it's great. Yeah. Maybe I need to invest in it.
I have seen it. It is perfectly fine.
I've never seen it.
It is perfectly fine.
I was coming around on Fulton, but now I got to say he deserves to be canned.
Yeah, wait for that.
Tough day at the office there, Fulton.
Yeah, no, like
I don't know.
I'm not big on procedural cop dramas either. Like I've never watched those on my own.
See, to me, like judging from your stance on the Office, that's a hill you're gonna die on.
I'll die on that.
Hill.
It's not as great as everyone says it is.
Yeah, well, it's overrated.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like it's a perfectly fine show. It is not one of the pinnacles of TV comedy.
Okay,
which is what everyone thinks it is. And that's just my personal opinion. I'm not saying anyone out there who thinks it's the pinnacle is wrong. I'm just saying I don't think it is. That's where we're at. Have you seen Friends? You've seen Friends?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're my age, you've seen Friends.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out, like, I'm trying to get a vibe here.
Yeah.
My dad loves procedural cop dramas. He's into all the Chicago shows. He records Law and Order and watches all the Law and Orders. I don't think he's ever gotten an NCIS. He might have. I don't know. I half pay attention. But those are always on. Man loves his procedural cop dramas.
I love good defensive line.
It is fun.
Love a good defensive line.
They are very fun.
All right. I will admit I said I didn't want Frank Clark back this past year. And everybody knows that.
You were very open and adamant about that.
When he decided to take a pay cut, I said, all right, I'm on board with that. I am. Because if you look at what Frank Clark and his contract this last year, his cap hit was $13 million. Now, with that cap hit, he took a lot less money. Frank Clark, $13 million. Is that still too much probably for what you got from Frank Clark for the regular season? Yes.
And then playoff Frank showed up again.
Which
is apparently the greatest pass rusher in existence.
If you look at what he's done in the regular season the last 3 years, 6 sacks, 4.5, and 5. Not worth $13 million.
Yeah.
But then when you look at Frank Clark in the playoffs, Frank Clark, 2.5 sacks this year, 3 sacks in 2020, and then 5 sacks in 2019. Playoff Frank Clark is incredible.
Yep.
So it was worth it.
Makes no sense.
Now, Frank Clark's contract this upcoming year, a $30 million cap hit. That was part of the restructuring, is that they moved money around, and you were able to move that to the cap hit this year. Now, his cap hit is $30 million. There is zero chance he's playing on that cap hit.
No chance.
His dead cap is $9 million. Now, you can do two ways. With that dead cap, you can either just flat out cut him, $9 million to the salary cap, or you can June 1 cut him, and it's $4.5 million this year, $4.5 million next year. There's positives and negatives to both. Or do you do what you did and restructure it again? Now, I don't know if you'd be able to, because there's no other year to move the money to, because this is the last year of the contract. So I look at this as, if you are the Kansas City Chiefs, if you try to get that back down to like $10 million, I don't know how you're going to do that.
Yeah, without knowing the specific language in Frank Clark's contract, you know, the thing you would be willing to do, really, depending on, you know, the cash on hand you have, is could you convert like 20 of that to a roster bonus, just pay him cash on hand, and then the cap hits 10. But that, you know, depends on language and contracts and yada, 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 and all these different things. So it just kind of depends. But I'm on board if, you know, if you could get it down to like 10, keep him around.
I don't think they'll be able to. But the reason why I bring this up is, let's look at this defensive line right now. And I'm talking about guys on practice squad and who are under contract. Your starting D-line is not terrible.
No.
It is George Karlaftis as your left end, Mike Dan as your right end, Chris Jones in the middle, and Tershawn Wharton up front. Now, he's a restricted free agent. They're going to bring back Tershawn Wharton. So that's your front four. Then your backups are Josh Kando, the rookie out of Florida State, who still hasn't done anything. Then you've got Danny Shelton, who's on the practice squad on a contract. KU legend Daniel Wise on the practice squad.
I love Daniel Wise.
And then Malik Herring, your defensive end. So those are the 8 guys that you've got. We know they're going to keep 8 or 9 guys.
That's what they usually do.
The front, on the front 4. That ain't good enough. That D-line right there is not good enough if you are the Kansas City Chiefs. So the question then becomes, if you bring back Frank Clark, the big question is if on contract structure, I don't think they'll be able to because there's nothing to push it through.
Yeah.
So you're going to save 21, potentially to $25 million. If you post June 1 them, you're going to save $25 million. So you got $25 million there. We're not going to worry about the Orlando Brown tag situation because that eventually washes it out. I'm just saying, if you decide to move on from Frank Clark, you can save $25 million. I don't think there's any way Chris Jones plays on a $30 million cap hit this year.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's going to end up happening. I want to make sure I have this 100% correct, but I thought it was $30 million.
I thought it was 28.
28.2. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to play on a $28.2 million deal. I would like to think that either they extend him, they trade him, but I don't see them just saying, here's $28 million. No. Because then you're paying $28 million to the cap to Chris Jones. You're paying $22 million to the cap to Joe Thuney and $44 million to the cap to Patrick Mahomes, and then potentially $20 million to the cap to Orlando Brown. I don't think they're going to do that. So you cut Chris Jones, or you cut Frank Clark. That's $20 million. Let's say that, okay? You restructure Chris Jones. You probably save, let's go with in half, $15 million. Now you got $35 million because you're going to restructure Chris Jones and give him an extension. So now you got $35 million to the cap that is open. Plus, they might be able to do some things elsewhere. Maybe you decide to give a long-term deal to Orlando Brown. Now, instead of that $20 million going into $35 million that we've created just by cutting Frank Clark and extending Chris Jones, you take that $35 million. If you don't extend Orlando Brown, now you got $15 million left because it's going to cost you $20. Let's say you extend Orlando Brown as well. I don't know if you can do both, but let's say they do. Mm-hmm. Then you got a boatload of money if you are the Kansas City Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Kansas City Chiefs, a guy who just got released just a few minutes ago, I wonder if he isn't somebody that the Chiefs might be interested in. And that's Michael Brockers. He is an elder statesman D-line. He'll be 33 years old. Now, He has not been great the last couple of years. He was injured last year for Detroit. But I wonder if they don't go somewhere along those lines. I think they might even bring back Carlos Dunlap on a low contract.
Depending on what he wants to do.
You know, Carlos Dunlap got to his 100 sacks.
He did.
So that's something that I know that he was interested in. But Carlos Dunlap's contract this last year was a $3 million cap hit. They're doing something at the defensive line spot. You're not just rolling with Karlaftis, Jones, Wharton, and Dana. Now,
no, they'll figure something out.
I think you go out and you get somebody like a Dunlop. He might be somebody that you try to go out and get. I think they are done with, let's go get, Brian Burns from Carolina. I don't think they're going to trade for anybody anymore. I don't think they're going to have the money to go out and get an elite pass rusher. Yeah. I don't think that's the case. And to me, you don't need one because you've got Chris Jones.
Yeah, you're in a position to where Chris Jones is your elite pass rusher. Now surround him with above average talent. You don't need a lead.
And that's what happened last year in the playoffs.
And it worked.
Karlaftis, Dana, Dunlap.
The complementary pass rush around Chris Jones was better, which made it work.
You don't have to go out and get, because we wanted to go out and get Hassan Reddick and that type of thing. So with Karlaftis, Jones, Wharton, Dana, you go out and you get another Carlos Dunlap. If they want to bring back Carlos Dunlap.
If Carlos says, I'll come back and I'll do $4 million instead of $3 million this year. All right, Carlos, welcome back into the building.
And
Come on in, buddy.
I don't even know if it'd cost that.
No, I don't think it'd be much. I mean, if he wants an increase, I don't think it would be that much if he would. I think Carlos would be cool to come back for another $3 million.
He had 4 sacks last year, but I think he played a bigger role in the playoffs. He didn't have a sack. But if you bring him back, something like that, I think that's a good piece. And the Kansas City Chiefs have a bunch of picks, but a lot of picks in the later rounds.
A wealth of draft capital.
They've got picks 32, 64, 96. They did have pick 101. That turns into Kadarius Toney.
Great pick.
Already a great
fantastic
pick for pick 101. 123, 135. So you've got a first, second, a third, a complimentary third. Then you've got fourth and a bunch of fifth. Then you got pick 218, 220, 228. Yeah, they got a lot of picks.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to go after kind of the same situation that you did this year.
Yeah.
It wouldn't stun me if they go edge rusher, wide receiver, or instead of a wide receiver, they will go offensive line.
Yeah.
I think that is something that they could do if you are the Kansas City Chiefs, because pick 32, pick 64, pick 96, first, second, third round pick, what you have in this draft, plus pick number 123, 135. So you've got some options.
Yeah.
And maybe they package, pick 135 and 123 and do something, if you know what I'm talking about. So that's the reason why. That's another reason why I'm not completely out of the trade Orlando Brown and get a second round pick. And then you've got pick 32, pick whatever, pick 64, pick 96, pick 123. You combine those and you go and maybe get your left tackle and save yourself 5 years of money. I don't know if they will, but I'm saying that is an option if you don't think Orlando Brown is that guy. They're in a win-win situation with Orlando Brown because he's going to play next year on this team, which is something else that we haven't discussed, and we might bring this up a little bit more in detail. Maybe this is the upcoming year where you just say, screw it, we are going all in again in 2024 and say, that's it. We restructure or we tag Orlando Brown. We just go all in 2023 and go for broke and try to make this that window, with Travis Kelce being who Travis Kelce is, the youth that you have in the secondary and at linebacker, and you go for broke, that type of thing. So they've got the base to me of a good D line, because I think Karlaftis will get better. Jones is still there. Dana will be on the last, and that's why I think they go out and get another rookie, because Dana's going to be on the last year of his contract.
No, I think edge is something they'll take within the first 3 rounds for sure, and there's some good depth to be grabbed there.
That's why if you go, let's say you go out and let's say you bring back a version of Carlos Dunlap,
we'll call it just a veteran pass rusher.
So you have Karlaftis, Jones, Wharton, Dana, veteran pass rusher, and first round pick number 32.
31.
Yeah, 31. Supposed to be pick 32.
Dolphins screwed up all the normal math.
So yeah, I think that is a very viable spot to get a pass rusher at 32, because then with you got so many picks, maybe you say, you know what, I can combine pick 96 and 123 and move up and get my offensive lineman. You want to? We were talking about the O-line yesterday. The dream situation right now, and the draft almost worked out perfectly for the Kansas City Chiefs. It almost did. They got a 9 out of 10 with this last draft class with McDuffie and all those guys. The only way it would be a 10 out of 10, and you could argue to me one of the greatest drafts in the history of the NFL, is if Darian Kennard could be your right tackle. Because then you have no issues, because you drafted a guy who can be a starting guy in his second year. Had a year to learn, but it doesn't sound like Kennard's that guy.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like anyone should bet on Kennard becoming that guy after 1 year. At the same time, you never know year to year what's going to happen. But I would think it's smart to not bet on Darian Kennard moving to that starting caliber guy. And
if you want to go back even further, if Lucas Niang was that guy.
Yeah, and Lucas Niang.
And maybe that's even more important, because he was a 3rd round pick. If Lucas Niang was that guy,
you would change some of the calculus.
Well, then I don't think they trade for Orlando Brown. I think Lucas Niang is your guy. But let's say you're even hoping over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Because they had him 2 years ago, and then this year they'll have Orlando Brown at minimum for 3, which is why I was okay with they made the trade.
Yeah.
No, and especially now since they won the damn thing.
Yeah.
If Lucas Niang was that guy, Like, that's where the perfect world was. It was. Coming up, we'll talk Royals baseball. The final hour of Mic'd Up for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Jake and Fulton, along with a complete and happy Fulton caster, as ladies and gentlemen,
I'm in heaven right now.
The 2023 Kansas City Royals season has begun, and it starts with Daniel Lynch throwing and getting an out to start the game. And Kyle Isbell's terrific defender catches the fly ball. Daniel Lynch, first batter, first out, first pitch of the year was a strike. And now Michael Massey throws it to Vinny Pasquantino, and the Royals get 2 outs in 2 batters.
It's great.
What?
I'm happy to be here.
What, Daniel Lynch? I mean, Daniel Lynch, has he thrown a ball yet?
Yes. No, his second pitch was outside the zone.
Can't throw all strikes.
No, and
I was told you're throwing too many strikes.
Well, and speaking of that, this is going to be the first game where we get the idea of the Royals, one of their also new philosophical changes, which is early in counts. And I'll prepare everybody for this when these games start moving to TV as well. Early in counts, you're going to watch Salvador Perez and company set up their target dead middle of the plate. Royals pitchers have been told, throw that baby right down Broadway, which sounds counterintuitive to everything you've ever been taught about the game of baseball.
Alrighty. The Royals just went 1-2-3.
They did.
Nathaniel Lowe lined out.
Hey, you got that one right.
Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be up to bat. When Bobby gets ready to go, we are going to hear the very first at bat of Bobby Witt Jr. for spring training. So let me know when Jesse Eisenberg, who is now one of the new play-by-play voices on the radio.
Jesse Eisenberg's being part of it today, and then also Ryan Lefevre.
Yep.
Appears Ryan's going to call the first few innings here, so we'll hear his voice when we come back and get to Bobby Witt Jr., but also Jake Eisenberg will be with us. Not the terrific actor Jesse Eisenberg.
Jake Eisenberg filling in for Steve Fizioc because Steve Fizioc decided to retire.
Well, it's a retirement for Fizz.
So we are going to go to the Royals, and let's head to Arizona.
Glenn Otto, who made 27 starts last year for Texas. He was 7-10 with a 4.64 ERA. And pitching for the Rangers, like the Royals, needs to improve this year. Texas really had a big year offensively last year. Otto's a right-hander, and out of the stretch, pitches to Bobby Witt Jr., and misses down and away, ball 1.
There we go.
Bobby ended up playing 150 games last year and had impressive numbers across the board. Here's the 1-0, and that's outside 2-0. And you have to think back.
Already paying dividends.
The pressure.
Going to walk his first at bat.
That he had going into last year, not just being the Royals' top prospect, but baseball's top prospect. Here's the 2-0, and that's outside, 3 balls and no strikes. Ended up being the Royals' player of the year, and that's the 4th time in team history that a rookie has won that award. Here's the 3-0, and that's outside for a 4-pitch walk, and the Royals would like to see more of that from him this year. So our first trivia question of the season: can you name the other 3 Royals rookies to be player of the year?
You're going to put me on the spot already with this?
Well, that's for you and everyone else listening, and Eric Guthrie, for that matter. And I'm sure Steve Stewart is listening somewhere. There's a wild throw to first, and it's going to ricochet off the netting in front of the Rangers dugout. But no play on Bobby Witt Jr. He'll advance to second base on an error 1. So Glenn Otto has given the Royals first base and second base with a walk and his throwing error.
Just look at that.
As Michael Massey steps in. But Bobby ended up with 20 home runs, 80 RBIs, and 30 stolen bases. Here's the pitch to Massey, and it's high, 1 ball and no strikes. Interesting, no Royals rookie was player of the year until 1994, and that particular rookie was American League Rookie of the Year. Bob Hamlin was the first.
The Hammer.
Here's the pitch to Massey, and he'll take a curveball for a strike. Michael played in 52 games last year. He made his debut during that series in Toronto when the Royals had to call up 10 players right before the All-Star break. Here's the 1-1, and he'll swing and foul it off the end of the bat. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Bob Hamlin was the first in 1994.
Well, using some context clues, was Angel Baroa one of those?
He should have been.
As another Rookie of the Year?
He's not on that list. He was the American League Rookie of the Year. Massey swings and misses, and he's down on strikes. And now 1 away for Salvador Perez. So Angel was Rookie of the Year, but not Royals Player of the Year.
Intriguing.
Salvi gets a nice warm ovation on a cool day in Surprise. Salvi played in 114 games last year and had 23 home runs. He was on the injured list twice because of his left thumb and eventually had surgery. And did he check his swing on a slider away? He did not. On appeal to first base umpire Alan Porter, no balls and 1 strike. Salvi, you remember 2 years ago, hit 48 home runs, tying the Royals record. And now a slider is a called strike, and it's 0-2 on Salvi. So Bob Hamlin, and the other 2 are David DeJesus and Mike Aviles. The first 3 to be Royals Player of the Year as a rookie. The 4th last year, Bobby Witt Jr. Salvi swings and fouls it away. That'll be back into the crowd off to the right field side. Still no balls and 2 strikes. Royals had their troubles last year offensively, and in the middle of May, fired hitting coach Terry Bradshaw and promoted Alex Zumwalt. Here's another 0-2 from Otto, and Salvi swings and misses at a slider down and away. So after the leadoff walk and the error, Otto strikes out Massey and Salvi, and now they're 2 down. That'll bring up Vinny Pasquantino. The standout number for the Royals last year was stolen bases, and they finished 3rd in the league in that category. Texas led the league, followed by Cleveland. Here's the pitch to Vinny, and he'll take down and in, 1 ball and no strikes. And just because of the sheer number of rookies last year, the Royals led the American League in several rookie offensive categories. Here's the 1-0 to Vinny, and he will take low, 2 balls and no strikes. The Royals led the American League last year in rookie runs scored, hits, doubles, triples, home runs, extra base hits, total bases, RBIs, walks, and stolen bases. So a lot of rookies and a lot of experience. Vinny hits one deep to right field. Back goes Garcia, and that is gone into the Rangers bullpen.
The Royals
and Vinny Pasquantino hits a 2-run first-inning home run, and the Royals lead 2-0.
The Royals take the lead 2-0. Vinny Pasquantino.
Oh, that sounded beautiful.
The crack of the bat.
Oh.
How about that?
How can you not be optimistic about this Royals team? I ask you that now.
Very simple.
Ask you that now, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone listening. How can you not be optimistic about this team after that start? Bobby drew a walk. We're going to ignore the 2 things that happened after that. And then Vinny Pasquantino murders a baseball. Daniel Lynch goes 1, 2, 3. In 3 minutes, might I add. That's what a pitch clock will do for you.
Vinny P.
Also, you know what,
visits
Vinny?
the seat.
It was disrespectful of me to say that you had modified the swing enough to get to 20 home runs. That was disrespectful of me.
I said I expect him to hit 20 dingers.
That was disrespectful of me. I knew he had the power. It's all about the bat path.
If your first baseman doesn't hit 20 home runs, you need a new first baseman. End of discussion. I will die on that hill. And I think he'll get
I think we need to have a better discussion about run production versus raw power, but
if your first baseman ain't doing that, then where are you getting your power? You got to drive in run somehow, and I expect, and I think he will. I think he's going to.
I think he might too. I am changing my tune.
How about that? Hey, great start for the Royals.
Told you.
To win, we bet the Royals to win today.
I still cannot believe I truly did put American currency on a spring training baseball game.
Folks. That's what I'm talking about.
Just setting a horrible standard for people. Putting American currency on a spring training game. And if I win money off of this, I'm going to feel great.
Hey, I put $5 down.
So did I. We put down the exact same amount too. For $5.
$5 to win $4 and I think 80 cents. We're living on the edge.
Dang right we are.
But yes, now I can say I bet on spring training baseball. How about that? Let's go Royals.
2-0 Royals after a Vinny Pasquantino.
Yeah, how about that?
Things are great.
What are the odds that the game stays 2-0?
Minuscule. I would probably say like 5%.
I was going to say 1%.
That's fair.
There's a 1% chance that this game ends 2-0.
Yeah, that's fair.
From the Big O Tires text line, thank you. Royals on the radio again. Spring has arrived. Sorry, I know most people would rather listen to Ryan and Eisenberg instead of us two idiots, but this is what you get. We mentioned it with Craig Brown, and if you missed any of that, you can go to our website. Check us out again on YouTube. On our podcast page as well. We talked about pitching, but talking about hitting. Yes. Bob just drew a walk.
Yeah.
Vinny P just, a walk and a bomb. That 2 runs right there.
What nickname are we going to endorse for Vinny Pasquantino? I think we need to get on the same page about what nickname we're going to endorse.
I'll just call him Vinny P.
Okay, that works.
I don't know. I don't like the Italian breakfast.
That's fair. So
I dislike that too much. Would you like me to give you the other options that are officially on the board?
Sure. So we obviously we have Italian breakfast, which is kind of quickly becoming the kind of third place option here. The Italian Nightmare has been floated by George Brett. George Brett has called it the Italian Nightmare. And then there have been shirts and other people have started endorsing the Pasquatch. Now, I think just going for Vinny P is fine.
You can do what you like. I'm going to go Vinny P. The Pasquatch. I'm not feeling that.
Not feeling Pasquatch?
Not feeling Pasquatch, no.
Italian Nightmare is really fun. That one's really fun.
Just like Italian breakfast is too much like country breakfast. And
I agree.
And the Italian Nightmare is too much like the Nigerian Nightmare in Krishna Okoye.
Okay. And that is the inspiration for it is Krishna Okoye.
Yeah.
Vin hitting dingers. Bob walked.
Yeah.
Which you knew a lot of last year. I'd love to see him have a higher walk rate this year.
That would be excellent.
It's great.
Speaking of
position players.
The position players.
Speaking of that.
I like 1 through 4. I do. Yeah. It's not going to be the way that their lineup is going to be constructed, but it might. I mean, MJ Melendez led off a lot of games last year.
I don't think it's the worst idea to do this year.
So if you've got MJ Melendez leading off, Bobby Witt Jr. batting second, Salvador Perez batting third,
Vin bat fourth.
That's 1 through 4. I like that. That's 20 home runs at the 1 hole, 25 home runs at the 2 hole, 25 home runs at the 3 hole, 25 home runs at the 4 hole. That's a good 1 through 4.
Yeah.
And we know Vinny P is going to be your first baseman.
Yes.
We know Bob's going to be your shortstop. That's very, very simple. And catcher is going to be starting Salvador Perez. So you at least know 4, or let me rephrase it, 3 of your infield. And then the next question then becomes, what do you do at catcher and what do you do with MJ Melendez? Do they try to go full roster flexibility and make Melendez your backup catcher / DH, but also you can put him in the outfield?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just having a backup catcher like a Cam Gallagher or a Sebastian Rivero or a Brian Pena.
Or Humberto Quintero. Let's just go down memory lane for a minute.
Do you go the Melendez route? And if Salvi gets dinged up, then Melendez, let's say he's playing in right field. Well, then you bring him in to catch, and then you bring somebody else in to play right field. I think that gives them more roster flexibility because your backup catcher is a big time deal. So I think they could do that.
Yeah.
So, and that would save you a full-fledged position because you could have Perez at catcher and MJ at DH, and then just flip those back and forth, and you save your bench. Now, Reyes is just a DH.
Yeah, Franmil Reyes is pretty much
just
a DH. So he's not good enough in the outfield.
That would eliminate your flexibility if you decide to do that. Now, second base, we know, is either Michael Massey or it's Nicky Lopez.
Yeah, that'll be a competition throughout the spring to see who wins.
Either way, I think if they're on the opening day 25-man roster. Yeah. I would assume that. If it's Massey, then Lopez is
he's probably utility, essentially.
Because he can play.
He can play pretty anywhere in the infield.
He can play short, third, second. So they're going to be there. Your outfield. It'll be Edward Olivares, looks like in left.
See, that just immediately, that's where you and I kind of disagree. It's just MJ Melendez is your starting opening day left fielder.
So you think, okay.
Because
I'm just going with your 25 man.
And that's fair. That's fair. I think MJ needs to be listed more as an outfielder because I think it'll be a 70-30 split.
Okay.
MJ's going to play 70% of his time in the outfield and left, 30% of the time behind the plate when Sal needs a break.
Okay.
And then you might get some mixing in there at DH. But MJ, if I had to make a guess today, he's going to spend a majority of his time in left field this year.
So and that's fine.
Yeah.
He's one of the 1 through 9 because if Sal is catching and MJ is not in left, then he's your DH. Okay.
Yes. MJ should be in your lineup for 150 games.
So no matter what at the plate, that's why this gives them a lot of flexibility.
Yes. No, and that's the best part.
So if you go MJ in left, let's say MJ Melendez in left.
Yep.
Then you've got Kyle Isbell in center.
Yep.
Then you put Edward Olivares in right field.
Ed, Nate Eaton, whatever you feel like for the day.
But then who's going to be your DH? Is it going to be? It could be Reyes. It could be Olivares. It could be Nick Prado. It could be I don't. Who knows? Because wherever you put MJ, that leaves an opening for DH or whatever. But I think Edward Olivares is going to be somewhere in the outfield with Kyle Isbell because Drew Waters is not there. So if opening day is Sal catching, Vinny P at first, Massey or Lopez at second, doesn't matter because the other one's going to be on the bench.
Yep.
Left field is Melendez, center field is Isbell, and right field is Olivares.
Yeah.
And either your DH then becomes either Nicky Lopez because he'll be on the bench.
Yeah.
It'll be Nick Prado. It'll be Nate Eaton or maybe Reyes. One of those three. That's it. That's the bad thing about this Royals team. This is another reason why I'm not super high on 5 through 9 is because that's why the Waters injury kind of stinks right now.
Yeah.
Because after Olivares, after Isbell, after Eaton, and kind of after Prado, there is nothing in the pipeline.
See, that's where you and I, to a level, will disagree.
I don't think there's a whole lot of guys who are going to, Reyes is a project, and they're hoping to do the whole fix him, that type of thing. I just don't see who else is out there. That's why, to me, Waters being out is a bummer because
it's a bummer because it does affect you can see. I will say this as well, and this is probably my first big cold shot of the spring. Barring a tremendous spring, Nick Prado's beginning of the year in AAA.
And that wouldn't surprise me because they probably think
looked awful.
Well, they think Reyes might be your DH.
No, and that's the reason why. So Nick Prado's going to probably start year in AAA. I'd be surprised if he starts the year on the 26-man roster because he just looked so bad at the big league level last year. And, factors play into that, and he can get better and he can get it back. I think Prado's at a level of he's got to earn the way back up. Now, if he has a great spring, that might change, and some other factors always come into there. I think Franmil Reyes will be your opening day DH because I think the Royals will live with him being boom or bust if they think they can get enough boom early. I think if he hits really well in the spring and shows some of that old approach he had before he fell off a cliff last year, I think they're going to take a chance early on him because he would be your real source of true raw power in the middle of the lineup of, yes, he's never going to really hit for a high average, but if you can get his approach back, he'll walk some. And then also just that guy can just send a ball to the moon. In a way, he becomes your Jorge Soler is essentially what he is. That's why right now I'd guess he wins the DH job because I think they're going to want some pop from there. I'm with you on Massey and Lopez. One of them starts second. One of them's on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
The specifics of that are completely irrelevant right now. That's how that goes. I think Nate Eaton for now is your fourth outfielder. Along with, I think Isbel Olivares and Eaton are your 3-man rotation for center and right. And the occasional one of them also goes to left for when MJS be behind the dish.
Yeah, it's understandable. Yeah, with Waters out, that gives the
because another reason I like having Reyes on the bench is, let's say it's a day that Salvador Perez has moved to DH, you put MJ at catcher. Well, Reyes just sits on the bench, and then you have a very big thumper as a pinch hitter. Yeah. And Matt Quatraro has already discussed using his bench.
But and that's the reason why, if Nick, you just said Nick Prado's struggling big time, but at least there's some hope with Nick Prado. After that, there's nobody. This is the team. That's who we got. Which, by the way, the Royals are back, baby. Daniel Lynch gives up a 2-run homer and then another line drive, and the Royals are down 3-2.
It happens.
They're back, baby.
So I will say this to your, because I just want to clarify something here. When you say beyond what's on the big league roster, you say there's nothing else as in you do not believe there's prospects down below to replace these guys. Is that the thought here, or what's your idea here?
Yeah, they go down to the minors and they bring up. That's my point.
The thing is, though, they have hitters down. Nick Lofton, I assume, will be up at some point this year. He has shown a good bat, down there. I think he's the first guy I'd consider calling up. Maikel Garcia will be on this roster by August 1st. He will be on this roster by August 1st.
None of these guys are top 100 guys. That's what I mean.
And I want to speak to that for a minute. One, I believe it's Fangraphs or Zips, one of the projected top 100 prospect sites. Maikel Garcia is 57th. So
wow, because he's not even on the others.
Yes, and that's my whole thing on top 100s for a minute.
Yeah.
They are helpful tools. They are not the be-all, end-all because every single one of them is different.
Correct.
Because every single projection thing is different. They all project things differently. Look at the individual player and their projectable tools. And that's what matters.
Here's the reason why I say there's nothing. Those guys coming up, they're not going to be difference makers.
You can't guarantee that, though. You can't guarantee that they couldn't be big pieces for
I'm going to go ahead.
I talk about our whole thing is third base lately because Hunter is going to play third base to start the year.
Woof.
Maikel Garcia is a potential solution to that problem, though. Maikel Garcia is a potential solution to that problem. Nick Lofton is a potential solution to that problem. Nick Lofton, if Kyle Lisbon and Drew Waters flame out, are a potential solution to the center field problem.
And I'm just going with what baseball has told me over the last 30 years of me following it. You bring those guys up, they're not going to hit 300 and destroy the baseball.
No, they're not going to do that immediately. No.
And so that's why I'm not going to be like, oh.
But this isn't about immediately. This is about next year and the year after.
Yeah, exactly.
And those guys are pieces that I think can help you next year and the year after.
That's why.
To say there's nothing in the pipeline I think is incorrect.
But that's also the reason why I look at this year is this year, it's the same thing as last year. It's
yes, annoyingly, yes.
And that's the reason why I'm not like, oh, yes, I can't wait Nick Lofton to come up here so he can get at bats and hit like 250, but he shows promise. Yeah. Like, I just can't do that. That's where you and I differ. Like, great. Nick Lofton, who not on anybody's list, he ain't going to come up here and all of a sudden rake. That's not what baseball is.
No.
Can he do it? Maybe. I'm going to go with what 90% of rookies who are not the Bobby Witt Juniors of the world.
Yes, they struggle.
Do. And so that's the reason why I say, oh, great, we got this guy to come up and we've got nothing. You know what I mean? Like,
but that's because you're comparing it to, do they walk in the door and fall out of bed and hit 300? Like, no. But can they be helpful down the line? That's what I'm talking about.
I'm talking about this year. That's what
and this year is about seeing what you have for next year and the year after.
Correct.
Which is annoying because that's what last year should have been. But it wasn't because this team failed.
And that's the reason why I'm not as excited.
But that's why it's not as important if they walk in the door and hit 300 for 2 months.
Yeah, so they're going to have like 70 wins this year. Sorry for not getting excited over 70 wins, Fulton.
We have to, at least for this year, move beyond the raw wins and losses. I know that is frustrating, and I understand that.
I'm done with that.
Well, then, dude, stop being a fan of the Royals.
You just don't like my opinion.
It's not about not liking your opinion. It's understanding what you should actually be,
you're going to tell me what I need to understand. Like my own opinion.
That's not what I'm saying, Jake.
Yes, that's all this is, Fulton.
It seems like
it's okay. You're like you keep getting mad at me because I simply say, I'm done with the whole, oh yeah, let's get these guys at bats for next year. Let's get these guys at bats for next year. Oh wow, this guy's gonna come up. He shows a lot of promise while hitting 240 and having like 5 homers. That doesn't excite me right now.
And I get that. I do. My overarching point I'm trying to get across here is the raw win-loss total is not what you should be fixated on. And it is the process in which you get to that win-loss total.
But I'm telling you right now, I'm done with that.
And that's fine.
So, okay, there we go. So that's
because in my opinion, if that's the way you're viewing it, then you will not be able to view this season as a success. Because if you're just focused on the raw win-loss total, then you will be disappointed.
Well, I can say, oh well, great, we won 70 games, but our guys showed a lot of promise.
And that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm like that doesn't get me excited for this year. Like, and that's why I will not get super high and low this year. Whereas you will ride the roller coaster. Yeah. You will. That's why I'm not going to do that this year. That just I have done it. Am I hopeful? You bet. I'm not expecting it at all. I am expecting the win-loss. What is the win-loss this year for the Royals?
We looked it up yesterday while I was doing crosstalk with 580 Sports Talk. It was at 68.5.
And you want me to get excited for the Royals? Yeah, great. We have Nick Lofton coming up in the pipeline.
And the thing is, like, I'm not telling you to get over the moon excited. I'm just wanting you to at least understand what indicators you can get excited about if they occur, and not just be fixated on a win-loss total.
I will be fixated if I see decent baseball,
and that's good. That's what I want.
No, and I doubt we get that.
And that's fine. You know what? At that point, that is fine. If you want to be pessimistic about you see good baseball, that's fine. But that's all. Like, whether that good baseball results in 72, 73 wins is irrelevant. It's, do you see promise and good baseball on the field?
It is relevant if I want my team to keep me entertained. Like, I'm not gonna. If the Royals are getting their butts kicked every single day and their pitchers can't get outs, why should I invest in them? You know, like that's what I'm talking about. Where you don't like how I'm viewing this season. You think that I'm being simple-minded when it comes to this baseball season. Well, the reason why is right now, outside of 3 guys, there's really no reason to get excited a whole lot until you see it. Now, if Daniel Lynch comes out in the first month of the season and is mowing dudes down, that will excite me. because they are producing, and the guys that you need to produce, I am not expecting them to do so. I need to actually see it with my two eyes, listen to it, and see that the Royals are actually have turned the corner. That is where you and I fundamentally view this season differently. And if they win 8 games this year, but Nick Lofton is good and so hits it well and blah, 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 you're going to be like, this is a resounding success. And I'm going to be like, no, they won 8 games.
I will add, if they somehow magically only won 8 games, I would agree with you. That is horrendous, and you can't be
You're again going with specific numbers. I'm giving you an example.
I understand.
Awesome. Because guess what? Next year, Nick Lofton has a great year this year. We've seen it a lot, and he craters next year. Like, that's why I'm just not as excited for this team, because forgive me to get pumped about Nick Lofton or Mikhail Garcia when we did that 3 years ago and 2 years ago and 1 year ago. Like that's the reason why. That's all.
That's fine.
I hope that the Royals start the gates kicking tail, and then you can see it, and then all right, I will be fully invested if that is the case, no question. But the Royals are down 3-2. But Vinny P hitting a home run, that was awesome.
That was very fun.
That was awesome. Coming up next, it is our edition of On Second Thought. Josh Staumont. 1, 2, 3 inning.
He just 99 on the gun, and that is the greatest thing to see.
2 Ks in 1 inning of work.
I'm glad the Royals first spring training game is mimicking how I feel about this team all the time. Just one really, really big high, and then a low, and then a high, and then we'll get to a low.
Lynch goes 1, 2, 3. Yes!
Gives up 3 runs.
Bobby Witt, a walk, and then a homer. Wow, this is amazing. Oh, then he gave up a home run and another
And then it's
run.
just Staumont 1, 2, 3. He's touching 100. Yeah! That's going to somehow go down.
Yeah.
But no, it is good to see Josh Staumont's velocity kind of back, because that's been down the last couple of years, and that's been disconcerting. But if Josh is back to throwing...
Disconcerting or that's been concerning?
Concerning.
I was like, wait a minute. No, that his stuff is nasty. Who was he that he played the Cubs? It was the Cubs, and the broadcasters for the Cubs were like, "Oh my God, who is this guy? This guy's got just insane stuff."
When Josh can throw in the triple digits and his curveball is working,
Wasn't it the Cubs?
I think I'm not 100% confident.
It was someone who's never seen him before.
Yeah, no, it was one of the teams. The first few times he was going around, they were just like, "Oh, mama."
I think it was the Cubs.
Josh has always had the stuff. Now, what I'm also, and I like to do the 1, 2, 3, Josh Staumont the biggest Royal that's going to be impacted by the pitch clock. He worked slow up until this year.
Is that what the number said?
Yeah. Baseball Savant put out a new pace metric last year of like how long guys were. Josh Staumont was one of the slowest guys in the league working.
Really?
Yes. Fun fact, Jonathan Heasley, one of the fastest.
No longer your boy.
No, I had to disown him. You made me pick.
You can't have multiple.
I think I'm allowed to have multiple boys.
No, you can't. Not in this
so.
situation.
But I've also still just guaranteed if you're a Royals pitcher, you don't want me rooting for you because it's so far always gone bad.
Yeah, that's fact.
Hitters, though, different. I have a good track record on hitters.
You got Melendez.
I get MJ and Vinny P.
Were you high on?
I was the one who told you all about Vinny P.
All right.
Because you guys were all big on Pride. I was like, hey, Vinny Pasquantino thrown in there. You're like, okay.
Okay. All righty.
No, Vinny counts as my other victory lap.
Okay. On second thought, I will go Tuesday evening.
Yep.
Not Tuesday evening.
It was Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday.
Wednesday?
Yeah, Tuesday.
It was Tuesday. Yeah, it's Tuesday.
I thought that Baylor would take care of
I'm
business.
right there with you, dude.
I thought Baylor would beat Kansas State. I didn't think Kansas State would be able to slow down those trio of guards, but they certainly did. Keontae George looked like a completely different player, and so far, the student has beaten the teacher twice now, and Purple Baylor beating regular Baylor.
It's amazing.
So that was my on second thought was K-State. That's a terrific win over Baylor. I didn't think you'd get it done the way that they were playing. So
I'm right there with you. I was fully confident. You know, Baylor, I thought with the way that they finished against KU, I was like, they're going to come out more motivated, more aggressive. They're going to want to wash that taste out of their mouth from blowing the big lead to KU. I was like, man, I don't know if Jerome Tang can beat Scott Drew twice. K-State's not playing their best ball. I thought K-State had like a 2% chance to win that game just based on all factors around it. And no, K-State that's the best K-State's looked in like 2 months.
And I'll say this, I think K-State will win tomorrow. I think
so too.
If no Avery, oh dang it, that makes me feel bad now. So now do I need to switch it? If you think K-State,
because I also think K-State's gonna win. It's fair.
If Avery Anderson plays, I think that's a huge deal because he's averaging about 12 a game, and not having 12 points for Oklahoma State's a big deal. But I'll say K-State, they're playing well. They go on the road and they win. Now, probably shouldn't because the last road win that K-State's had was like early January.
It's hard to win on the road in this conference, man.
So it's probably stupid. But I think this is a game that the Royals are going to end up winning, or the Cats are going to end up winning.
I think so too, but it's going to be close. I don't know. Oklahoma State's not playing good ball right now, and that's why I think K-State can do it. Is I think K-State, especially after the win against Baylor, and they've kind of reset themselves. Jerome Tang, I think, has learned a little bit on how to not push his players too much. Because he spoke post-game after the Baylor game of like, you know, he's going to give the guys more days off before Saturday than usual. And they were going to go for maybe, you know, fewer practices, but still make them high intensity. So I think K-State's going to still be fresh on Saturday. And as long as K-State's fresh, man, I don't see Oklahoma State winning the game. But it's going to be close. It's going to be close, and I think it's going to be fun. But I think K-State, but who knows? All of a sudden, they might lose. And if they lose to Oklahoma State, that's not terrible. Like, only one team in the Big 12 has a winning road record.
Hey, if anything, that'll help the Big 12 get 8 teams.
Get more 8 teams in there.
into the NCAA tournament. It really, really could. Texas Tech's got the biggest opportunity, though, this weekend on the hardwood. No question. KU should roll West Virginia, which I hope that's the case. But no, Texas Tech, you beat TC, you're feeling pretty good. I think at least getting yourself in the tournament, then whether or not you can stay in the tournament with 2 games to go. Last game of the regular season. How about that?
We're almost there.
I know. Last game of high school hoops this week. And then we got Sub-State next week. Washburn's last game Saturday. Tomorrow down in Emporia.
Hope you enjoy that road trip. I know you love it.
Well, no, it's a great road trip. It's only, 50 minutes. Great road trip. I'd rather go to Emporia, like driving wise,
That's fair.
than say, Tahlequah or Kearney.
I never want to go to Tahlequah ever again. I never want to go to Tahlequah ever again.
Said everybody.
Yes.
Said everybody.
Not a unique opinion.
No. Coming up, we'll get to a little bit of this off season for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's been a good one due to number 15. The Kansas City Royals are down 3-2. Michael Massey just struck out. Bobby Witt Jr. popped out to the first baseman.
Bummer.
So bottom of the third, after Daniel Lynch went 2 innings, gave up 3 runs, and Josh Staumont went 1. The fact that he threw 99 miles an hour in his first outing.
He touched 97 and 99.
What is he doing? Why is he doing that?
Got some Chiefs breaking news.
What do we got?
Which
here?
we expected, but it has been made official. Matt Nagy officially has been promoted to the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. We all thought it was going to happen, so it's not surprising news.
Mm-hmm.
But it has been made officially official. Matt Nagy will be the Chiefs offensive coordinator for 2023.
Death, taxes, and Matt Nagy is the OC. Not a surprise. Yep.
Knew it was coming. Just waiting for the announcement.
Now, did they have to interview a minority candidate?
I believe so. I do not know the intricacies of how that works.
I thought now the Rooney Rule applied to OC and DC positions now.
I'm not sure.
If that's the case, then there's like no point in the Rooney Rule. Because like we knew that Matt Nagy was going to get the job.
Assistance is different. I will always say you should do interview process. Don't just always automatically hire from within. But Andy Reid loves his continuity. Nagy succeeded with the job before in Kansas City.
I was like,
you just knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Like, that's why he was hired back in the first place. Like, part of why Nagy came back as quarterbacks coach was for when they assumed EB would probably get a head coaching job.
Yeah.
It was so then Nagy
Correct.
could be the OC. Like, this was the plan all along.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It also keeps Mahomes happy.
Yeah, Pat loves Matt Nagy.
We know this. It's important to keep number 15 happy, as now we have learned that at least The Athletic is reporting that Russell Wilson went to ownership and said, I want Pete Carroll and John Schneider fired. And they said, yeah, throw the ball. And they ended up trading him. And now the Seahawks went to the playoffs and the Broncos didn't. And now they get the 5th pick overall. And now the Broncos have a giant problem on their hands. So then they spent $20 million of Walmart money to try to change that. But they hired Mike Wilhoit, so I'm okay with it.
True.
Mahomes is not like Russell Wilson. I'm so glad.
He's not like really, I think, any big star-faced quarterback of the league.
I think it's because I think as they get older, I don't know, because you look, Russell Wilson's a lot older, Rodgers a lot older, but all the young guys, the Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, and maybe it's because you get a little bit older, it's just he acts so much different than
it's
Russell
refreshing
Wilson.
as of now. It could ever change. I hope it doesn't, but it could. But it's refreshing as of now.
Coming up, we'll wrap things up with the mic drop. What do you got for your mic drop?
It's very simple. First things first, Royals are back, and I am utterly delighted and happy, even though they are currently losing the spring training game. But baseball's back, and this is my favorite time of the year, and it delights me. Second part, I just hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. I know my weekend's going to be super fun and get to see one of my best friends and have some good times. But overall,
and what are you doing Saturday?
That too. I will be going to the Negro Leagues Museum on Saturday afternoon with my best friend. I could not be more excited.
It's awesome.
I will happily retell every bit of my trip there on Monday.
Yes.
Whether prompted or unprompted, I will retell it because I am so excited.
No,
it's gonna be a great time.
I think you need to let people know your experience because a lot of people haven't.
Yeah, I recommend it, even though I have not even stepped in the door yet, and I will say, go see it.
Yes.
If you love baseball like I do, go see it. It's a great piece of the history of this game.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited. That's what I'll be doing tomorrow.
That is terrific.
So excited.
My mic drop that I'll give is that Russell Wilson literally thought he could get the head coach and the GM fired.
He did.
What world is he living in?
Russell's world.
But that'll do it. Check us out on our website, 580www.com. You can also subscribe to our YouTube page. Coming up next, we got 580 Sports Talk.